So when I was going through my kits and trying to decide what I would work on and what I'd wait on, this was one of the first ones I chose. I was really surprised at how many were much farther along than I had remembered, and this was one of them. I'll have to look at it more closely, but I think the actual cross-stitching on the fabric is complete. So this is a kit that's intended to function as an advent calendar. It's designed by Betty Whitaker. It's a dimensions kit. And I happen to really like Christmas cross stitches. And I'm making a few small changes to this one, nothing too drastic. As you can see, I had the fabric folded for quite a long time, so that'll take a bit of washing and maybe some gentle ironing to work out. Like I said, I have to give it a closer look, but I'm pretty sure the back stitching is done on this part. So I guess it's actually ready for that wash. The original pattern has you stitch bows to hang the individual advent calendar tokens on. But I couldn't see how I could do that and have them look uniform. So I searched high and low and eventually found these buttons that I hope the little tokens will hang neatly on. And these are the tokens. They're done on a plastic canvas. They're in different stages of completion. The ones that need eyes, I don't get along well with French knots, and they're even harder on the plastic canvas. So I'm considering getting some teeny tiny black beads to use for the ones that need eyes. I'm also trying to decide whether I'm going to back them with felt or whether that would just make them too thick. And I need to decide how I'm going to attach a loop so that they can be hung. Once that's done, it'll pretty much be ready for the framers, so that is kind of exciting. Next up, I've got this kit from Lennart. It's a design by Maria von Schadenburg, and I chose it to be a birth announcement. So in addition to the name at the bottom, I'll be adding weight and height and birth date, or at least birth date details. There's a little bit of gold to do on it. This is another one that I really had forgotten how far I'd come. Again, it's quite creased. It's been sitting in storage for quite a while, so that'll take some gentle washing. But you can see there's not a whole lot left to do. Definitely less than a quarter of the stitching, and then there'll be the back stitching and the personalization. But I don't expect that to take too long. Be nice to get it done because my niece is almost 5. So it's been a while since she's been born. So this is one that I'll be focusing on as well. This one just has a fun name, Witsy Boof and Friends Birth Announcement. It's a little Susie's Zoo by Janlin. This one's intended for a boy, and I found it's really hard to find birth announcements that aren't, well, I guess that are a generic birth announcement as opposed to clearly feminine. And I actually have started a couple that once I got into stitching them, I realized, no, this wasn't going to work. But this one I think is just plain fun and sweet, and it'll suit the boy that is going to be the recipient. I'm stitching it with all the materials that came in the kit. I believe it's a 14 count Aida, so nice and big. The stars somehow threw me for a loop. I ended up redoing bits of them a lot because they were tricky to position correctly. As you can see on this one, I have maybe a quarter of the stitching left, not a huge amount, and then of course the back stitching and the personalization. The personalization gets placed on the stars themselves, so if I finish those, then I can get to that. And once that's done, then as well as the previous Earth kit, then I will be completely caught up with all the nieces and nephews' birth announcements. And as long as nobody has any more children, I should be fine. Actually, I just remembered there is one more, and that's about in a similar state of needing to be finished. But I'm getting there. I thought I'd show all of you how I keep track of everything. I've listened to a lot of floss tubers talk about their rotation, and some people keep track of how many stitches they complete in their stitching time. And I admire that, and I think it's fascinating to have those details and those statistics. But I know that if I go that route, the fun will be sucked out of it for me. So I did need something, though, to keep me on track and so that I don't forget which projects I have. I do love these little Moleskine, I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, these little Moleskine notebooks. They're quite durable. I use them for my everyday bullet journal. If you don't know what a bullet journal is, just Google it or even check it out here on YouTube. It's a neat way of keeping track of everything you need to keep track of without using some kind of electronic device. So I have a few of these on hand, and I thought I could use one for my cross-stitch record keeping. So you can see my fingers just to give you an idea of the size. It's about half the size of a regular piece of paper, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, maybe a little bit smaller. I followed the bullet journal way of setting up your first page. So you can see there's the contents, and as I add stuff, I'll put it on this page. And you can also see I've left room beside the page numbers. And that's so that if for some reason my notes on a project spread beyond a page, I can just start a new page and then record that page right on the table of contents. So for example, if I filled up page 3 with notes about my Earth kit, and I needed to start a new page, I would do that on page 6. And on the Earth line, I would just put a comma after 3 and add a 6. And that way, with a quick glance at the table of contents, I can tell exactly where all that information is for that particular kit. Project list. So this is a quick overview, just so I can have a basic idea of when I started things, when I'm finished, how close I am to finishing. And I thought that might help me decide which projects to work on. I've only entered these 3 that you see here, but I'm planning on doing the rest within the next few days. I don't know what the started dates are because these projects have been packed away for so long. But I decided on this page I would like to record the date I started working on it, a sort of very general bar graph type of graphic for how far I am, how close I am to completion. And then once I'm done all the stitching on the fabric itself, I'd like to write down the date that was done. And then once it's finished, framed or assembled or whatever, there's room for a date for that as well. I also put the page number beside, again for easy reference. I can flip to the more detailed record keeping if I want to. 2 quick peeks at the pages where I put more detail. So obviously this is notes on my Earth kit. I've written down who I'm intending it for, some very basic information about the kit. I'm thinking that if I would have a pattern and kit it up myself, I'd include the information about which floss and which fabric and those kinds of things I was planning to do. My next one is a bit more detailed. So on this page, I have the details for Christmas Countdown. And as you can see, I've made a few notes, the changes that I made, and then some things that are still undecided, just so that when I'm looking it over, I don't miss anything that's quite vital. For example, I really don't want to forget that I can't frame it with glass, because then I won't be able to hang the little tokens every day of Advent. So I hope you've enjoyed this second floss tube. I enjoyed making it, And there'll be some more as I finish up and rotate things in, or get sick of things and rotate things in, or do a new start or several, because that's always fun. If you liked it, please hit the like button below, and maybe even subscribe, and let me know that you've been by in the comments, and I'd love to check out your floss tubes as well if you have a channel of your own. Thanks for now. Bye.